It is time for the Moonshine Jones podcast. Wherever you are, whenever you are, whoever you are, I'm Moonshine Jones, and thank you very much for checking out my podcast. A small podcast, but continuing to grow with people like yourself listening to the podcast. We talk about current affairs, we talk about politics, sports, history, biographies. I enjoy it. If you enjoy it, eventually other people will enjoy it. If they don't, I enjoy doing it. Okay, mark that last part off. I want you to enjoy it. How about that? Today we're going to talk about the quarterback position. We're going to start off with Hendon Hooker, and I want to lead into where we are with Tennessee football, and I want to lead into one key person that left the program in 2008. And after he left the program, everything just started to fall apart. All right, let's get into it. You know my blood runneth orange. I am a big-time Tennessee fan. Love my Vols. Right now, it seems like this is the thing every year. This is our year. We're like the Chicago Cubs in a lot of ways, it seems like. Tennessee right now, picked by a lot of people to finish second or third in the SEC East, which is not a bad thing by any stretch of the imagination. Picked by some to finish behind Kentucky. Kentucky right now really at the height of the program. Their problem is, much like Tennessee's problem, there's two teams. You've had a little success against Georgia here and there, but there's been no success against Alabama and one win in the last 17 years against Florida. I've only lived one life, and I'll never be able to understand that one. So right now, we'll start off with Tennessee football, the position, the most important position in all of sports, and that is the quarterback position. Hendon Hooker, redshirt senior, Greensboro, North Carolina, stands 6'4", 218 pounds, went to Dudley High School, transferred from Virginia Tech. This time last year, we thought it was Joe Milton. Joe Milton, the transfer from the Jim Harbaugh Wolverines, the Michigan Wolverines, didn't work out at Michigan. He came with a big arm, a lot of potential, came into Tennessee last year. Josh Heupel in his first year coming from Central Florida. Thank you, Danny White, our athletic director from Central Florida, bringing in Josh Heupel. Joe Milton was the guy. He was the guy. And there was a number of other players. I'm not going to get into it right now. There's too many players, much like my Cleveland Browns. Yes, it's been a rough last 15 years for football for Mr. Moonshine here. NFL and college. But there's too many names to get into. It came down to Hendon. It came down to Joe Milton. And Joe Milton got the job. Did not play up to par. Very inconsistent. Very, very strong arm. But you got to have more than a strong arm. You really do. If you remember Mark McGuire's brother, Dan McGuire, that played at San Diego State and went to the Seattle Seahawks, he had a rocket arm. You have to have more than an arm. And from what I'm hearing, now this is practice, that Joe Milton right now is looking really good. You hear that in a lot of places. Is that coach speak? Is that something to get out there to make the fans feel better about the situation? I don't know. But Joe Milton right now is the backup with Taven Jackson, the very, very talented freshman out of Indiana, is going to be competing with Joe Milton. And it's college football. Anything can happen. But let's get back to Hendon Hooker, shall we? Hendon Hooker came from Virginia Tech, had a fantastic 2019 season, threw for 1,500 yards, but threw for 13 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. 2020, not as good. You got a coach that's on the way out. Things just aren't there. There's not a lot of stability there. So the blame lies in a bunch of different areas, shall we say. Hendon transfers to Tennessee. By the way, for the coaching staff, for Josh Heupel to go out and pick up this talented, this caliber of a quarterback, to see through the issues that they people believe that were there, to go out and pick him up. Amazing job. Fantastic job to get Hendon Hooker. Hendon Hooker comes in last year. You know the rest of the story if you're Tennessee fans. I mean, he broke records, completion record. And remember this. Who's been quarterback in the history of Tennessee football? For a long time, I'm not even going to say the first name that comes to mind. T. Martin had the completion percentage in a game, went 22 of 23, I believe it was, against South Carolina in 1998, the same year the Tennessee Vols win the entire kit and caboodle, winning the national championship. You've had Peyton Manning, of course. You've had Heath Shuler, Andy Kelly, Casey Clausen, Eric Ainge, on and on, Condredge Holloway, just on and on and on. And this guy comes in and breaks records, quarterback records. Anytime anybody can break quarterback completion records, is when you can dethrone people that I just mentioned, especially Peyton Manning. If you can dethrone people like that and take records away at the quarterback position, you are doing something spectacular. So Hendon comes in last year. The numbers are there. We were the first team to score on Georgia in the first quarter. Obviously, what happens at Florida, I don't know if we need to go to some voodoo priestess or something and figure out what's going on with Florida. I don't know. But besides that, Tennessee just got on a roll. And everything, it speaks for itself. Tennessee ends up going 7-6. Should have been 8-5. I was there against Purdue, but as they say, it is what it is. Finished second, a semifinalist for the Davey O'Brien Award. The first quarterback since 2006 to finish as a semifinalist for the Davey O'Brien Award, which goes to the nation's top quarterback, which at a lot of times is usually the Heisman Trophy winner to some degree. I'm getting excited now. I'm having to catch my thoughts here. 2006, since Tennessee had a semifinalist for the Davey O'Brien Award, which was Eric Ainge. And again, if it wasn't for, and I know ifs, buts, candy, and nuts, but if it wasn't for that ankle injury suffered against Notre Dame, who knows how good Eric Ainge could have been. And he was still fantastic. The last quarterback to lead Tennessee to an SEC championship. 2007, Tennessee had LSU on the ropes. You get a pick six. We were there, the SEC championship. Just still boggles my mind that today we're still, it's been that long, 15 years this year since Tennessee has been in an SEC championship. In fact, 2007, the year before we had beaten Alabama. Now there's one thing that's connected to all of this, and I want you to think about it just for a second. not too long, David Cutcliffe. David Cutcliffe is one of the greatest minds to ever coach quarterbacks. It's there, folks. It's there. Peyton Manning, Eli Manning. Do I have to say anything else besides that? Numerous quarterbacks at Duke got a real short leash at Ole Miss because he just didn't fit in at Ole Miss. Who knows what he could have done at Ole Miss? But all you have to do is say, well, that's a short list. Peyton Manning and Eli Manning, Hall of Famers. Peyton Manning, 5-time MVP. We know about the Heisman, we know about this and that, but Peyton Manning and Eli Manning. This guy was a game changer. Got to Tennessee. Let me pull it up here. I had it just a second ago. Got to Tennessee in 1982 as an assistant. Stayed until 1998. In that period of time, Tennessee won how many SEC championships? 85, 89, 90, 98. And he leaves in 98, taking the Ole Miss job. In fact, a lot of people don't know this, some people do, that he wasn't even on the sidelines and watched from home in the national championship game against Florida State, which Tennessee ended up winning 23-16. Not that I remember. You could point to this man. Of course, Johnny Majors, my favorite coach of all time in Tennessee history, and for me, one of the greatest coaches ever. What he did as far as a coach, he had his shortcomings, everybody does. His problem was beating Alabama, but what he brought to the table. But he brought in David Cutcliffe. David Cutcliffe was an Alabama boy from Birmingham. Went to Alabama. He brings him in, and from that period of time, from 82 to 98, again, I just said it, SEC championships, a national championship. David Cutcliffe. Now, here's the thing about it. Cutcliffe leaves in 2007. At that time, Tennessee had a quarterback coming up behind Eric Ainge, which was a stud quarterback, Jonathan Crompton. If you remember seeing Jonathan Crompton in a few little, I'm trying to think of the word here, in a few little plays that he was in the game against, a few appearances, against LSU, a rocket arm, and able to throw the ball, able to put it on the money. What happens with Jonathan Crompton? Well, he obviously doesn't play a lot. In 2007, he takes over the starting role. In 2008, Cutcliffe leaves. Dave Clawson comes in, which Dave Clawson is a heck of a football coach. What he's done at Wake Forest to put them last year in the ACC championship, no matter how good the ACC is, for him to put them at a championship level, of a conference championship level. They did lose to Pittsburgh, but still, Wake Forest, okay? Dave Clawson is a good coach. At that time, there was way too many people in the cookie jar. There was way too many people messing with the recipe that was a good recipe. Phil Fulmer started, I wasn't there. All I know is Mike Hamilton and all the boosters had a lot more to do with what was going on with Tennessee than what people want to talk about. Mike Hamilton, a great guy, a great fundraiser, athletic director, I think not. But when you take over for a legend like Doug Dickey, then it's just, Doug Dickey was, again, you can hear this on some local shows. Doug Dickey was so instrumental in the success at Tennessee. And we're talking when Doug Dickey was there, baseball. Basketball, not so much, but he went after some big time names. Now, he went after Roy Williams and offered him some big time money when he was at Kansas. Brings in Kevin O'Neal, which did not work out, which was the most boring form of basketball. Brings him in, and it just didn't work out. But football-wise, baseball-wise, and he did go after some big names. It just didn't work out again with basketball. But back to the 2008 season. At the time, Fulmer is dealing with a lot of moving parts with the boosters again. You've got Mike Hamilton. You got a lot of things going on again behind the scenes. Tennessee gets blasted by a new coach that we had no idea how good he was going to be. You had an idea because he was at LSU and beat us, and to some, we still haven't recovered from that 2001 SEC championship game. Nick Saban comes in and I was at Fort Benning at the time, and lucky enough, my first sergeant, for whatever reason, had us listening to the game. Nick Saban comes in, beats Fulmer, beats the brakes off of Fulmer in 2007. 2008, it was closer than maybe the scores indicated. Eric Berry picks up a fumble. They negate the fumble return. It changes a lot of things. That Tennessee team had a lot of issues. And one of those issues was David Cutcliffe not being on the coaching staff. It just did not work. A lot of recruits didn't pan out. A lot of things just didn't work. And again, Jonathan Crompton doesn't get the credit that he deserves because he had to go through a lot of things. That's why to this day, from what I understand and what I've heard him say, that he and Lane Kiffin are very close. Lane Kiffin comes in, takes Jonathan Crompton to another level. That was a good season. That was a really good season in 2009. You come within an ace of beating Alabama at Alabama. You beat South Carolina. You bring out the black jerseys. You got the fans behind you. You beat Georgia. You beat Georgia at home. A lot of people don't remember this, but the 2007 team, make sure I've got this right here. Yes, odd years for Georgia. Tennessee had beaten Georgia 07 and 09 back-to-back. Then you fall off and you have the whole Mark Richt thing, blah, blah, blah. But there was success against Georgia. Periodically in spurts, but there was success. Again, we haven't beaten Alabama since 2006. That's sickening enough to say, but who has beaten Alabama consistently or hardly at all since 2006? Since 2007 when Nick Saban comes in. Thank you, Mal Moore, I've heard that story. Mal Moore goes down to, I talked to a former coach, Mal Moore goes down to Miami and tells the guy on the runway in a private jet, says, if you see me walk out of here by myself, go ahead and just take off because I have to come back with Nick Saban. And he did. To his credit, he did. As much as it hurts Tennessee, they sure did. They got him. But that 2008 season, losing to Wyoming broke the camel's back. It broke the camel's back. The offense was completely out of whack. You had a once in a generation talent. Maybe you could say like a Dale Carter, but Dale Carter, Carl Pickens, very, very rarely comes along. And those three are right there together. But I would put Eric Berry above those three, believe it or not, with the ability to be able to, even though Carl Pickens came as a defensive player, I'd still put Eric Berry over him. So you have just a complete meltdown. And I was there in 2008 against Florida. Tebow, that Florida Gator team was absolutely phenomenal. They come in and just blow the doors off of Tennessee. There was no cohesiveness with that offensive line. Everything was up in the air. It was just bad. Phil Fulmer gets fired. You bring in Lane Kiffin. After that, we know the story. But this all comes back to, again, Hendon Hooker being named as a finalist for the Davey O'Brien Award, and it takes us all the way back to David Cutcliffe. What would have happened, and as a Tennessee fan, it's the what ifs, right? What would have happened if David Cutcliffe stays at Tennessee? Who knows? That was fun. That was fun to go down memory lane. I hope you enjoyed my perspective, my take on things. I say again, David Cutcliffe doesn't leave. If we can somehow keep him there and he can take over the head coaching duties and get rid of the boosters. You can't get rid of the boosters, but get rid of the bad ones. Get rid of the ones that aren't doing anything good for the program. I think Tennessee appears in multiple SEC championships. I think Tennessee the bottom doesn't fall out. I think that Tennessee continues with Ohio State to be the only team to never lose more than 7 games in a season. And now Ohio State is the only team to never lose 7 games in a season. Again, thanks guys for checking this out. Got to tell you, we are sponsored by my brother, Jeff Jones Auto Sales. He is a salesman connected to Victory Nissan in Dixon, Tennessee. If you're looking for a vehicle, folks, it doesn't matter where it is or what you're looking for. There's a great chance that Jeff Jones, my brother, can get that for you. Give him a call, 931-337-4405. He's in Dixon, Tennessee, a little bit west of Nashville, Tennessee. You're probably, 35, 45 minutes west of Nashville, but it's worth the drive because Jeff Jones can get you the vehicle that you're looking for. Give him a call today, 931-337-4405. I'm Moonshine Jones. Looking for sponsors. If you want to sponsor the show, the podcast is doing well. Right now I'm looking for a few radio stations to get connected to. We'll see how that goes. I'm Moonshine Jones again. Thank you so much for listening. Have a fantastic day. We'll see you next time. Go USA. And go Big Orange. And go USA. Have a great day, folks. Thank you for listening.